Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid and another morning ramble. Do you ever suffer from what I call stinking thinking? That's what I call it, but the way I actually say it is stinking thinking because it's like my southernish accent. And by the way, what a beautiful view behind me there. No? This is the view I always have when I'm up here doing these morning rambles. I get to look at that, and now the leaves are changing quite a bit in the last few days because we are towards the end of October. It's October 28th as of this recording, 2018. And there were a bunch of deer up here when I came up here that went into the woods, so I went in there to look at them, see if I could see them. And when I turned around to come back out here and sit and do this morning ramble and I saw this view, I decided to sit at this angle this morning so you guys can see it. There's the house. Up here's the upper pasture field, our new apple trees we planted, and the trees are just gorgeous. So, stinking thinking, what is it? What's secure? What's a good way to handle it? Stinking thinking, okay, let me give you some examples because it is all like, there's so many different ways in which we can get caught up in stinking thinking. Sometimes just like anxiety, worrying about things when we really don't have anything to be worried about. And all of a sudden our minds start thinking of worst case scenarios for certain situations, and sometimes these situations aren't even apparent in our lives. Okay, that's a form of stinking thinking. A form of stinking thinking that I can get caught up in, and that maybe you can too, is what you've probably heard referred to as taking other people's inventory, worrying about how other people are living, what they're doing, how they're handling certain situations. I rarely do that because I have very limited contact with a lot of people. I'm very selective with who I associate with, and I've been fortunate to find those I do associate with are across the board as far as their religious beliefs, their political beliefs, their interests, their hobbies. But the one thing that we all seem to have in common is that they stick to their side of their street, I stick to mine. We focus on commonality, common ground, the things that we do have in common that unite us, not the things that we disagree on or don't have in common that would divide us. And we don't judge. And those are just, in my book, like the best people you can surround yourself with. And so they're hard to find. They're few and far between. I've been fortunate enough to find several, and those are my kind of people. And I know a lot of you here are just like that, the type of people I described, and so you're my kind of people too. You know, I talked yesterday about whether you know it or not, you are the light in someone's darkness. There's somebody that looks at you who likes the way you live, who believes in what you're doing, who you're encouraging, whether they may never tell you or not. We talked about Todd Bushcrafter yesterday, and Todd, if you're watching, I'm sorry I mispronounced your name in the beginning. I said Todd Bushcraft. It's actually Todd Bushcrafter. You guys are the light in my life. A lot of you have commented, you've said I'm the light in your life. I'm telling you, you guys are the light in my life because I don't feel like doing this every day. There are days I just don't feel like coming up here and doing this. And this is not hard. It takes I was going to say 10 minutes of my time, but let's be honest. We all know sometimes these things go on for more than 20 minutes. But sometimes I'll have this stinking thinking mindset of, oh, what's it worth? Why am I doing this? Why am I going up here in my field and talking to myself? Well, I like the view, as you can see there, especially when the leaves change colors in October. So I think, well, let's just go up there and look at the leaves for a while. But when I see you guys say, hey, I really got a lot out of what you said, I enjoyed that. Guys, I'm telling you, that gives me motivation to come up here and talk to you about stinking thinking, the cure for stinking thinking, these sorts of things. And I'm going to get to it right now. When I get in the mindset where I'm doing this stinking thinking, worrying about things I shouldn't be worrying about, taking other people's inventory, fearing the future, regretting the past, which are two things I rarely do, but at times I do. What I've found the best thing to do is to simply get busy. If I get busy doing something, I don't have time for the stinking thinking. The worst thing I can do is sit around doing nothing and stew in my own thoughts, because my thoughts have a tendency to only get worse. Now, I did this morning. I slept until 5 a.m. I'm usually awake before 5, but since it's colder now this time of year, the sun hasn't been coming out until after 7. I've been sleeping in a little bit. So I slept until 5 this morning. I get up. Well, the internet wouldn't work. I mean, I'm making this recording at about 8 a.m. on Sunday morning, October 28th. I might not get this uploaded and published until mid-afternoon because we're having internet problems again. I might even have to go into town and go to the library to upload this, which we're planning on going into town and going to the library anyway because we have 9 library books out. They're not due yet, but we've read them all twice. They're my son's, and he wants some more. So if I can't get this uploaded from home this morning, it'll be uploaded this afternoon at the internet. But my point of that is that threw off my regular routine. So I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm drinking coffee. I get online to check the channel, read comments, kind of formulate some thoughts for the morning ramble, and the internet's not working. Well, I'm off to the races with my stinking thinking. I'm thinking, oh no, if the internet's not working, what else isn't going to work today? This puts me behind on my schedule. Oh no, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I caught myself early. And guys, we've got to catch ourselves in our stinking thinking. The earlier, the better. So my number one go-to when I'm, as far as getting busy, when I get caught up in stinking thinking, is exercise. So my first thought was, well, go for a run. Well, you see where I live. Do you see any street lights? It is pitch black dark out here because there is no artificial light. Unless that sun's up, it is like as dark as the bottom of a West Virginia coal mine. So, and there's bears, coyotes, foxes, drunk drivers, all kinds of stuff. And that wouldn't have been safe. So I thought, okay, don't accept defeat. So you can't go for a run. What can you do? I mean, even if I stayed on the property here, there could have been limbs that fell down last night. It's been windy lately. It just wouldn't have been safe. So I thought, okay, what can you do? Well, you know what? You see this? I've been out here homesteading for probably 2 hours, well, more than 2 hours, because I came out in the dark. I brought a lantern, and I've been working in the lantern. I have some apple trees that weren't, well, these apple trees back here, some of them have been leaning a little more than my liking, so I staked them up with rope and stakes, and I cleaned out the chicken house yesterday, and I set the hay with the chicken poo off to the side to fertilize some Leland cypresses. I have in this gap right here. This is like the only place from up here you can see cars pass, so I planted Leland cypresses. I took that stuff and fertilized those Leland cypresses. And also I have these because I've been using our new manual log splitter. And I did all this by lantern light. I have the Coleman rechargeable lantern, puts off a lot of light. Nothing I was doing was too detailed. Nothing was hard. It wasn't meticulous. It did involve using a little itty bitty hard to see pieces. And I know my work area, it's very safe. Like where I split wood, I like always clean up after myself. If I've only got 20 minutes of daylight left, I don't split until dark. I clean up. And the benefit of that is, I mean, it's just, I'm like, cleanliness is next to godliness. I love cleanliness. I love being, I've never understood how people can work in messy work areas because you spend so much time looking for things. You're not spending your time being productive and producing. So when I'm out, I was able to go out there in the dark and split wood with a manual log splitter by the light of a lantern and not have to worry about safety. There were no overhanging limbs. So the point of all this is when I get caught up in stinking thinking, worrying about things that aren't going to happen, being thrown off my schedule because the internet wasn't working and I couldn't start my day the way I normally do after I had my first cup of coffee, going online, reading comments, whatnot, doing any research that I want to do. The worst thing to do is to allow that stinking thinking to continue. If I find myself questioning the way other people are living, that usually is a pretty good indication that I've got a question in regard to how I'm living. Remember, every time we point the finger at someone, we got 3 pointing back at ourselves. If I'm saying, look at you, you're doing this, why are you doing that? Do you ever think about that? Well, what's that really saying about me? There's something I'm doing I need to be looking at, that I need to be questioning. Is this something I should be doing or not? So, the stinking thinking's gone. It was gone before I came up here and started this morning ramble. I love being in a good space or a good spot up here when I do these morning rambles because I'm all about spreading the cure, not the disease, and taking action, getting busy, staying busy for a good hour and a half before the sun was even up this morning, got me out of my stinking thinking. So it's a treatment that I've known to work for many years. I've used it for many years, and I wanted to share that with you. So if you're sitting around worrying about things that may or may not happen, remember, fear, F-E-A-R, false emotions appearing real. That's all it is. Just stop. Get busy. Clean house, do something active, exercise if you're able to. Go to the grocery store. I knew a guy in the Philippines he owned a pizza shop on the beach. He was an expat. He told me, he was a veteran and he had issues. He told me that sometimes what he would do is he would go to the grocery store, get a cart, and just walk around the grocery store and put stuff in it to make it look like he was shopping until he calmed down enough to where he had gotten rid of his stinking thinking. Then he'd walk around, he'd put the stuff back, put the cart back, and he'd leave. That sounded nuts, but you know what? It worked for him. Try it. Maybe it'll work for you. Anything that works is better than suffering from stinking thinking. So, with all this said, I want to thank each and every single one of you for being here. You are the light in my darkness. You motivate me to come up here and do these morning rambles. You say that I motivate you with them. Let me tell you, you motivate me by letting me know that you enjoy them, and you give me the motivation I need to come back up here. Watch this car. It's already passed. Well, I heard it. Well, those Leland cypresses will block the sound too. So anyway, we'll see you for more next time from here at Homesteading Off the Grid. And there's your view. You've been getting it all morning.